हरिहंत सिद्ध सुर उपाध्याय साधु सर्व अर्थ के प्रकाशी मांगलिक उपकारी है। तीन को स्वरूप जानी रागते भई जो भक्ति काय को नमाए स्तुति को उच्चारी है। धन्य धन्य तुम्ही से काज सब आज भयो कर जोरी बारंबार वंदना हमारी है। मंगल कल्याण सुख ऐसो हम चाहते ओ मेरी ऐसी दशा जैसी तुम धारी है। ओ मेरी ऐसी दशा जैसी तुम धारी है। तीन भुवन में सार वीतराग विज्ञानता शिव स्वरूप शिवकार नमो योग समारी के। पंडित दौलत राम जी, the author of Chai Dala, we are discussing, we are going to start now the fifth Dal. So far, in the first Dal, we discussed what are the types of miseries that soul suffers in all the four states of existence. In the second Dal, we discussed what are the causes of those sufferings. In the third Dal, we discussed the solution to those sufferings. And in terms of, so the problem was mithya darshan, false belief, false knowledge, and false conduct. And the solution was right belief, right knowledge, and right conduct. So the whole third Dal was about the right belief. Okay, it was discussed at length. Right belief, what are its attributes and what are its blemishes. All this was discussed in the third Dal. Then in the fourth Dal, we discussed initially about right knowledge. We also discussed about the difference between right belief and right knowledge. And right belief always precedes the right knowledge. Then in terms of conduct, right conduct, we discussed the 12 woes of a householder. And then in the fifth Dal, we are going to discuss about 12 contemplations or 12 reflections, Bara Bhavna. Very popular topic in Jainism. And if you see deeply, these are the 12 ways to practice discriminative knowledge. This is nothing but Bhed Vigyan. There are 12 ways where you can do Bhed Vigyan. And all this collectively brings in yourself a direct connectivity to your soul. And when you are in direct connectivity with your soul, you are always enjoying. You are always in eternal bliss. You are always experiencing eternal bliss. And that is the purpose of each human being. Nobody wants to suffer. Nobody wants to experience grief, pain, sorrow, misery, nothing. Everyone wants to be happy. And this happiness comes from within. So if you connect with your soul, you are obviously going to experience happiness. So this 12 contemplations, we are going to study in deep in the third paper only. This is our second paper. The third paper is about Bara Bhavna. And also we have Dravya Sangra along with that. But Bara Bhavna is more, weightage is more on the Bara Bhavna. So one full paper is there on it. So that we are obviously going to discuss once we finish this Chai Dala. But now it has come here and we also have discussed this 12 reflections. Earlier in Vitrag Vigyan, I think it was 3, okay, by Pandit Jaychandji Chabra, last chapter. So there also we discussed 12 reflections. So you are all aware of what are the 12 reflections, how it functions, what is the purpose, and different acharyas have written about Bara Bhavna. Most popular, Kunkunda Acharya has written Bara Bhavna, Dwadas Anupreksha. Then we have around 100 Bara Bhavna. This Chaidala is also based on Pandit Bhutjanji's Chaidala. Okay. So we have different authors coming different point of time, and everyone has written Bara Bhavna from different perspectives. So when we do a proper analysis of 12 reflections, that is what we are going to do in the next paper. At that time, you will see we will be referring to around 15 to 20 Bara Bhavanas of different authors. Most of them are scholars and few of them are Acharya. Okay. So that's very interesting study that is going to come. But right now we are also going to enjoy this from 5th Dala. Pandit Daulat Ramji's 12 contemplations are also very famous. In fact, most of the people in earlier times used to have this in their memory only. They used to recite this every day. So we also have got a chance again and again, once we have discussed this in Vitrag Vigyan, and one more time we have discussed in the Pujan. Pujan also we have Bara Bhavna. Then we are discussing it now, and then we are going to have a very comprehensive paper on this Bara Bhavna. So Bara Bhavna is nothing but a type of science of discrimination. Okay. So from 12 different angles, author will try to connect to your soul from 12 different ways. Okay. So it's going to be a very interesting study, because this is what our objective is, and this kind of studies are going to fulfill our objective. So you should take deep interest in understanding this. If you have any questions, you can ask in between, after the class, later on, whenever you have in mind. Please understand this very properly. So if you work hard once, it will be remain with you forever. Not only this birth, but in the next birth also, as we discussed in the last class, Samyak Gyan, about Samyak Gyan. This is going to stay with you. Okay, so we are doing something, we are spending time, we are investing our time, not spending, I would say we are investing our time in one of the best concept or doctrine of Jainism, the 12 contemplations. Stanza 1. What are the reasons for 12 contemplations and those worthy of contemplating? So one thing is very clear, that this, after the discussion of the 12 woes of a householder, and in the last 4 woes of householder, we discussed the learning woes, 4 learning woes. Okay. And there we saw that the inclination was more towards becoming a monk. Okay. So before you become a monk, these 12 reflections are very important. And what the monks do when they have when they are initiated into monkhood, first thing that they do is this Bara Bhavana. They contemplate on 12 reflections. Okay. And even when they are inflicted with, in fact, they are having some inflictions in their life, upsarg and parisha, at that point of time, they also remember these 12 reflections only. So if it is so, if it is so prominent to a monk, it should also be prominent to us, because it is nothing just a practice of science of discrimination. So mainly it is related to a monk, but having said that, we also at our level can develop this science of discrimination at our level. Okay. So it's a source of enjoyment for all. Even ignorant people, knowledge people, monk, everyone enjoys this. We'll begin. The tone would be different, as we have seen in all the 4 dhals. Each dhal has got a different tone for singing, and I'm trying it for the first time. Then later on you can all pick up. मुनि सकल व्रति बढ़ पागी, भव भोगन ते वैरागी, वैराग उपावन माही, चिंत वो अनुप्रेक्षा भाई. Muni Sakal Vrati Badbhagi. So it has begun with monk only because, as I said, this is prominent in a monk's life. So they are the, what would say, main practitioner of this 12 contemplations. Okay. So Muni means here true monk who has renounced 3 levels of passions: Anantanubandhi, Apratyakhyan, and Pratyakhan. Okay. So those are the true Bhavlingi Muniraj, true monks. Sakal Vrati means Mahavrati. So one are minor vows and major vows. So monks are all the holder of major vows, Sakal Vrati. Because any logic why they are the holder of the major vows? We discussed this in minor vows last week. Why are they considered to be Sakal Vrati, Mahavrati, major vows? Yes.
Because they have renounced the worldly life.
Okay. Anyone else? Soumya? You know the answer. So while discussing the minor vows, why they are a holder of minor vows, the householder? Because he has renounced the sins partially. And the monks have renounced the sins fully. So that's why they are Sakal Vrati, major vow holder. Okay. So that was the logic. Muni Sakal Vrati Bad Bhagi. What does the word Bad Bhagi? Most fortunate. Okay. Most fortunate. Why they are the most fortunate? Because they are the ones who are putting in great efforts. Because they are great in putting efforts, so they are the most fortunate. Okay. So Bad Bhagi. Bhav Bhogante Vairagi. So they have understood that the happiness lies within our soul. So they're able to renounce the sensual pleasures. Okay. And they have become detached to it. Okay. So they have renounced all these sensual pleasures. Vairagya Upavan Mahi. Vairagya is what? Detachment, passionlessness, vitragta. Vairagya means vitragta. Okay. So this detachment, they have given the example of the mother. Mahi means mother. Okay. So they are just like a mother. As the mother is responsible for the birth of a child, similarly, these 12 contemplations are responsible for the manifestation of detachment or passionlessness, vitrakta. Okay. So these 12 contemplations are the originator of passionlessness, vitrakta. Okay. Just like a mother is responsible for the birth of a child. Chintve, chintvo, chinte, chintvo, anupreksha bhai. Okay. So therefore, we are also contemplating this 12 reflections. Okay. So this is the meaning of the first stanza. Now we will read. So you can repeat the pronunciation here once again. From there, we will start. Amita ji, you start.
Can you move it up, please?
Yes.
Thank you. Some more. Oh, do we read this, Rajesh Bhai?
Yes, yes. This is. You can read the first two lines also in Hindi if you are able to. Otherwise, leave it.
मुनि सकल व्रति बड़ भागी भव भोगन ते वैरागी वैराग्य उपावन माई चिंते अनुपेक्षा भाई. The true passionless naked Jain ascetics with right faith, knowledge, and conduct, Bhav Lingi Muni, are practicing the five great vows. They have embarked on the journey of considerable personal effort. They are detached from the sensual pleasures of the world. These ascetics are the true practitioners of the 12 contemplations. As a mother gives birth to a child, these 12 contemplations give birth to renunciation. Therefore, these ascetics concentrate on these 12 contemplations.
So you have understood it properly, I suppose, because everything is explained. Now the second stanza. Hemali. What are the fruits of these contemplations?
Yeah, fruits of contemplations. Imagine tatsam ras jago Jimmy ज्वालन पवन के लागे जब ही जिय आत्म जाने तब ही जिय शिव सुख ठाने. As fire flares out with the wind, the inner bliss of equanimity arises by meditating on the 12 contemplations time and time again. When the living being knows the real nature of the soul, he gives up his interest in alien substances. He is now engrossed within the self and enjoys bliss and tranquility, ultimately attaining salvation.
So as flares up the wind, okay? So if there is a fire and if the wind passes through that, it flares up, okay? Similarly, the inner bliss of equanimity, the inner bliss of happiness arises by meditating on the 12 contemplations, okay? So while meditating, you are mostly trying to focus on your soul, but if that doesn't happen, then what you do? You do have thoughts on these 12 contemplations, okay? Time and time again. So this is the practice that we all need to do, okay? There is no rocket science. It's just that you have to keep on repeating time and again these 12 contemplations, okay? So as fire flares up with the wind, similarly, this kind of 12 contemplations, it propels the inner bliss of equanimity, okay, time and time again. So when you want to enjoy, you will have to contemplate on these 12 reflections, okay? So that is going to bring you happiness, whatever situation may be. Maybe some may be inflicting pain on you, some adverse situation in your life, some health issue, everywhere. This is going to be the medicine for you to create happiness in those situations. It is just few thoughts here and there, the whole scenario changes. I cannot see any other wonder in this universe than this Jinwani, you know. Within a few words, within a few seconds, the whole scenario changes. Okay? So no situation in this universe is compelling you to be unhappy, in misery, in pain, in grief. No, it is just your choice. You have a choice to be happy in those situations, and you have a choice to be suffering in those situations. So the choice you exercise, the result you get. Very clear. Okay. So we have to be very alert in what we choose and how we choose and why we choose. So if you have contemplated on three questions, you will get obviously the right answer. Okay. So when the living being knows the real nature of the soul, okay, the moment you know the soul, he gives up his interest in alien substances. So my question is, again, just apply your mind. Why he was interested in alien substances in the first place? Why from time immemorial we have been interested in alien substances? Why?
Sir, because he did not know
Okay.
that there was bliss in observing the soul.
Yes. So we thought that happiness is there in alien substances. And that's why we have been craving for that since time immemorial. And that is called the delusion. Delusion means wrong belief. Wrong belief. There is not happiness in any of the sensual pleasures, and we believe that there is happiness in the sensual pleasures. That's why we are putting 16 hours a day, 20 hours a day, first to get the degree. And once we get the degree, then we take up a job. And for the promotions and other packages, we put in uh, efforts beyond our limit, just to get that success. And what success we want? We want to earn more money. Why? Because with more money, I can have more objects of sensual pleasures. And what will happen with those objects? I will get happiness. So this is what delusion is all about. Now, by reading this Jinvani, now you have come to the conclusion that happiness lies in the soul and not anywhere else. My attribute of happiness, how can it exist in the alien substances? Very natural to decide. So, when the living being knows the real nature of the soul, he gives up his interest in alien substances, right? So, knowing the real nature of the soul is again a cause of eliminating delusion. Okay. So, he automatically gives up his interest in alien substances. He is now engrossed within the self because he knows happiness lies there. And if I engrossed in myself, I will extract the happiness. Whole self, you know, there is no, you keep on extracting, if you keep on extracting for infinite time, and it is not going to, what would call, it's not going to finish, right? It is such a well, uninterrupted well, that you keep on extracting, it never ends. So such is our nature. We are full of happiness, and not only happiness, infinite attributes. We never realized ourselves, we never realized the importance of our existence. Okay. All these has created a delusion in us where we believe that we will get happiness by these alien substances. So our all efforts are directed in that direction by hook or crook. I want to succeed in life. I want to have the best things in life. I want to have the best sense of objects in life. But there is no happiness. Okay. So he gives up his interest in alien substances. He is now engrossed, okay, within the self. So that's why our monk does not keep any of the possession, because they don't require it, because possession for them is a cause of hindrances in their happiness, right? So the monks don't have any responsibility. They have renounced their house, everything, not a single possession. They reside in forest and they meditate in themselves. So how would they survive? So this is, I'm talking from the scientific point of view. If you go to a place on the north side, Uttarakhand side, there are places so deep in the forest that there is no human life available there. Only few Rishi Munis reside there. And their lifespan is of 500 years. Right now, I'm talking about present time. Okay. And they survive on the oxygen that is there in the atmosphere. They naturally don't feel hungry. They are full of energy. Right. This is something that I have come to know from one of my naturopathy doctors, and he has been to that place. So these are all naked monks, although they are not Jains, but like some may be Jains also there. We never know. But this is the life they live in the forest. Pure oxygen, 100% pure oxygen. And by taking the by breathing only, they get the energy. And that keeps their body fit and fine. Okay. So he is now engrossed within himself. No possession is required, only engrossing in himself. And they also know that I will remain in this body up to my lifespan. I'm not going to leave this body before my lifespan. So eating food does not sustain the body. It is the lifespan, right? And they don't require any possession. They want to extract happiness from within self, and that they are doing. So what else they want? Nothing. They don't have any desire to get this done or that done. They don't want fame. They don't want name. So that's why our acharyas never wrote anything about their personal life. Right? Because they don't want name, fame, nothing. Only eternal happiness. So why they have written these books? Just out of compassion. That today nobody are takers of this advice, but in the coming time, people will read this Jinwani and become happy. So that was only the objective for writing such books, So their primary function is to be remain engrossed within the self and enjoys bliss and tranquility, ultimately attaining salvation. So this is the process. This is the path of liberation, and ultimately attain salvation. Okay. So just within one paragraph, you can realize, you can experience, you can capture what a life of monk would be. Okay. And if you happen to go to some remote places like Sikarji, or any other remote places where you are very close to the nature, you will have similar feelings what is being said here. Okay. So you can connect it that way. So always long for this kind of places where there is abundant natural beauty, life is so simple. Okay, so the next stanza is the stanza number 3, and from there it starts the 12 reflections. So for next 12 stanzas, in every stanza, Pandit Daulat Ramji in just 2 lines have explained each reflections or contemplations. So number 1 contemplation is transitory. A very good name of this would be impermanence of the world. Okay. Transitory contemplation is also okay, Anitya Bhavana. So in Hindi, we have very universal name of Anitya Bhavana. But in English, we are still finding different kinds of versions. So one is the transitory contemplation, and the other word that we have chosen in the Jeev team is this impermanence of the world. Okay. So we have also, the people have researched so much of books, and then they have found out these words. So I'll be telling you what would be the good word and what is written already here that you are anyway going to read. Any of them you can use. There is no problem in the using of any words, but the meaning you should understand properly. Okay. So, Soumya.
Contemplation, transitory, number 1, transitory contemplation, Anitya Bhavana. जोवन धन गोधन नारी हय गय जन आज्ञाकारी इंद्रिय भोग छिन थाई सुर धनु चपला चपलाई. Youth, house, domestic animals like cows and buffaloes, wealth, ornaments, spouse, horses, elephants, servants, and the objects of the five senses are all short-lived, just like the transitory nature of a rainbow or like lightning in the sky. This is the nature of transitory contemplation, Anitya Bhavna. All alien relationships and alien modes are transitory in nature. Anything created by association will result in dissociation in the future. For example, once born, death is inevitable. So it follows that rather than becoming miserable, one should face death boldly. Only the pure nature of the soul is permanent. The enlightened person meditates on this contemplation repeatedly, thereby increasing his dispassionate state. One should not feel pleasure or pain in favorable or unfavorable surroundings. One should keep equanimity under any circumstances.
So one should keep equanimity under any circumstances. I like this sentence very much. Okay. And that is the challenge. We have challenge. Even if you are doing some job in office, if you are doing some work in home, if you are dealing with your children, spouse, whatever, everywhere you have this opportunity to keep equanimity. That is the only challenge for a seeker, to keep equanimity under any circumstances. And for that, you need to acquire knowledge, and very little bit of knowledge, not the kind of knowledge that you acquired while pursuing your career and degree. Okay. This is something very small few principles. And if you apply those principles in those situations, you will be able to manifest equanimity under any circumstances, whether it is favorable or unfavorable, doesn't matter. Okay. So there is no favorable or unfavorable association in the universe as a rule. Okay. It is that we perceive something as favorable and something as unfavorable. Why? Because of delusion. Alien substance is alien substance. It is not favorable or unfavorable to us. One substance cannot do anything to the other. So how can some substance be favorable and some substance be unfavorable? No, it is not so. It is because of our wrong belief, we believe something to be favorable. And so we believe this is favorable. So we develop a feeling of attachment to that. And because of delusion, we believe that some objects are unfavorable. And because of that, we develop a feeling of aversion to them. So this attachment and aversion goes on and on. New karmas are being bounded. Old karmas are coming into fruition. And this cycle goes on. Now, to break the cycle, we have to first get rid of delusion. And once you get rid of delusion, you realize that there is no favorable and unfavorable thing in the universe. Because one substance cannot do anything of the other. One cannot harm anybody. One cannot help anybody. Each substance is independent, functioning independently on its own. There is no way that somebody can help somebody. I can make you understand. No, it's not the way. You will understand because of your own efforts, your own eligibility of the moment. Okay. I cannot make you understand. But if you want to understand, you can understand. Okay. So everything, the ball is in our court. The life is in our hand. We can write our destiny and we can spoil our destiny. Everything is in our hand. Okay. So in this first contemplation of transitoriness, transitory contemplation, impermanence of the world is depicted. Okay. Youth, impermanent. House, impermanent. Domestic animals, because in earlier times, people used to keep domestic animals in their house, So for milk, they will not go to a milkman. The cow in their home will give them milk. Okay. For doing other chores, they had buffaloes, then they had horse, everything in their home only. Okay. So domestic animals like cows, buffaloes, wealth, ornaments, spouse, horses, elephants, servants, and the objects of the five senses are all short-lived, impermanent, just like the transitory nature of a rainbow. Okay. So rainbow, there are 7 colors, Vibgor. It automatically comes up. Mostly during rainy season, you would see this. Okay. So it comes up and within few moments, it goes away. Similarly, a lightning. Lightning, it's just a fraction of a second. You see the light. Okay. And the sound comes later on because light travels faster than the sound. Okay. So immediately, because of the friction of the clouds, there is a lightning and we see the spark. Okay. And then after few moments, the sound, we also hear the sound. So this lightning is so momentary. Similarly is the momentary of this human life. We have got a lifespan of 60, 70, 80, 90 years, right? And this 90 years, even if we consider at the higher level, is just a fraction, not even a fraction of fraction of the time that we have already lived in this mundane existence. Because we are from time immemorial, there is no beginning. So we have been this in universe, wandering from one species to another species, one state of existence to another state of existence, since time immemorial. There is no beginning. Okay. So this 90 years of this life, right, is just a fraction. And if you are able to manifest these 3 gems, right belief, right knowledge, right conduct, you have initiated the path of liberation and you are going to get liberated very soon. Okay. So you see, the first contemplation enables us to discriminate between the external possessions that we have and the soul. Okay. So this is the first type of Ved Vigyan, science of discrimination. Okay. Discriminative knowledge. This is the nature of transitory contemplation, anitya bhavana. Okay. So this is the negative side, that everything is impermanent, impermanent, impermanent. Then there is a positive side to this. And considering the negative side and the positive side makes the complete picture of each contemplation. Okay. So anitya bhavana is not only to tell you that everything is impermanent in the world. They also will show you what is permanent in this world. And based on that permanence of the world, you will be able to discriminate between the self and the non-self, which is impermanent of the world, impermanence of the world. Okay. So the next paragraph, all alien relationships and alien modes are transitory in nature. All alien relationships and all alien modes means modification, are transitory in nature. Anything created by association will result in dissociation in the future. So this is a rule, you can write it down. Anything created by association will result in dissociation in the future. In Hindi we say, संयोगों का वियोग होता ही है. Okay. Sanyog is association and viyog is dissociation. So every association comes with a dissociation. So all associations are impermanent. For example, once born, death is inevitable. So it follows that rather than becoming miserable, one should face death boldly. Because the soul is permanent. It's not going to die. It's the body that is going to change. Okay. Only the pure nature of the soul is permanent. So now the contemplation is moving towards the positive direction. Only the pure nature of the soul is permanent. We have discussed the impermanence of the world. Now we are moving towards the permanence of the world. So between these two, you have to adapt one. Okay. The enlightened person. So who is an enlightened person? The right believer. Okay. The right believer, the enlightened person, meditates on these contemplation repeatedly. Now, he meditates on these contemplations repeatedly, means he is practicing the discriminative knowledge. This is impermanent, this is permanent, this is impermanent, this is permanent. So there are 1 lakh items which are impermanent, but there is only one permanent. So you adopt the permanent one and the impermanent will all be renounced automatically. This is the technique that our acharyas have developed. Okay. So we also will be adapting this technique. Only the pure nature of the soul is permanent. The enlightened person meditates on these contemplation repeatedly, thereby increasing his dispassionate state. That means reducing the attachments. Okay. So on one hand, the attachments are reducing, and on the other hand, the passionlessness, okay, is increasing. And along with passionlessness lies the happiness. It is also increasing. Okay. Thereby increasing a dispassionate state. One should not feel pleasure or pain in favorable or unfavorable surroundings. Now, this one line, the whole philosophies of the world says this line. One should not feel pleasure or pain in favorable or unfavorable surroundings. This is the essence of all the religions. They are all craving for this statement and they all say this. But only the Jainism has the answer, because we establish soul as the unique solution to all problems. The moment you take shelter in the soul, your all problem stops. You experience eternal bliss. So we have to come back again to this factor that we have to take shelter in our soul. Okay. And this is very unique to Jainism. We have been able to establish the true identity of the soul because we apply point of view, Nai. Right? So Nai is not available with any of the religion. All their statements are absolute, one-sided. Right? But here in Jainism, we have Syadvad. From some perspective. So from some perspective, soul is permanent. And from some perspective, the soul is impermanent. So tell me which perspective it is permanent, Himali?
So from the real perspective.
Very good, very good. And from which perspective it is impermanent?
So from
Conventional point of view, right?
Point of view, yeah.
So the real point of view captures the substance part, and the conventional point of view captures the modification part. So modification itself is of one moment. So it is impermanent. Okay. So when you take shelter in the permanent, right, you automatically leave the impermanence of the world. So this is the technique that we have to develop. Okay. So one should not feel pleasure or pain in favorable or unfavorable surroundings. This is a very good statement. But how do we do that? So there the answer lies that when you take shelter in your soul, because the soul itself is passionless. Soul itself is passionless. So when you take shelter in a passionless thing, automatically you manifest passionless. Right? Very simple. Okay. So if you don't want to feel pleasure or pain, you take shelter in your soul. And once you take shelter in your soul, because soul is passionless, so whatever it's manifest is also passionless. Okay. So one should keep equanimity under any circumstances. Okay. So this equanimity will only come when you take shelter in your soul. So there is no other path. Okay. We have only one path of liberation. That is right belief, right knowledge, and right conduct. And how it manifests? When you take shelter in your soul. While discussing the stoppage element, we also discussed that stoppage elements only begins when we take shelter in our soul. Okay. So when we take shelter in our soul, the stoppage element evolves. That is the starting point of path of liberation. And with repeatedly practicing discriminative knowledge, that purity that has manifested during stoppage element, it goes on increasing. And it goes on increasing, it is called dissociation of bondage, nirjara. And going this way, one day will come when all the impurities will be wiped out and all the purities will be manifested, complete purity will be achieved, and that is liberation. Okay? So from beginning to end, so simple. Path of liberation is so simple. You have to just take shelter in your soul and be happy in that, be engrossed in that. Okay? So we have two words in Hindi. Samjho, sama jao. Samjho, sama jao. Just two words, whole path of liberation. Samjho, understand. Sama jao, engross. Understand and engross. Understand and engross. Understand and engross. Okay? So this is a powerful tool to practice discriminative knowledge. Okay? The impermanence of the world. Transitory contemplation. Okay? So you can see the pictures also. All the wealth are shown here. And a very famous example for this particular contemplation is about Sikandar. You know, Sikandar captured the whole world and he accumulated so much of wealth. But while he was coming back, he wanted to meet his mother. Okay. And his life was getting over. And all his wealth could not make him meet his mother. You know. And then he said to his minister that when I die, in my funeral procession, you carry all this wealth that I have conquered over the world and keep along with that and show it to the world that in spite of having so much of wealth, he could not buy a moment of time. Right? So the minister did that and everyone got a message that there is no happiness in this world. So you should not spend your time in acquiring the wealth of the world. If you have your minimum for your sustenance, you spend time after this Jinvani, you understand the principles, you practice it, and make your life blissful. Simple. By earning money also you want to be happy. And here without earning money also you are happy. This is the true happiness, that is a temporary happiness. All the sensual pleasures are temporary. That they come along with anxiety. And this happiness is without anxiety, unperturbed. Unperturbed happiness. Okay? Nirakulta. That is the characteristics of true happiness. You know, unperturbedness is the characteristics of true happiness. Now, I'll just give you a background about these 12 reflections. Of course, we will be studying in detail in paper 3. But the first 6 reflections deals with the, it helps us in getting detached with this mundane world, then this body, and all the pleasures of this world. Okay? The first 6 contemplations enables you to discriminate with your body, the mundane world, all the sensual pleasures, object, relatives, everything. Okay? And the next 6 contemplations will help you in actually practicing the discriminative knowledge. Okay? So, next 6 are mostly related to the fundamental elements, the other 5 fundamental elements, and the first 6 are related to soul and non-soul elements. Okay? Soul and non-soul in the first 6 contemplations, and influx, bondage, stoppage, dissociation, and liberation will take care in the next 6 contemplations. So this is the sequence. And there is a very systematic process of science of discrimination in these 12 contemplations. We will discuss this in the next paper. Here we will not have time, but we are going to discuss that in very detail in the next paper of 12 contemplations. Okay. So now we move on to the next bhavna. Stanza number 4, helplessness. Now, helplessness means asharan. They want to depict asharan. But in English, we have got found a better word. No one can provide protection. So Hindi word is asharan. Now asharan means no one can provide protection. Okay. But helplessness is also a good one word. Okay. No one can provide protection. Okay. So Jia, you read stanza number 4.
Yeah. Contemplation number 2, helplessness contemplation, Asharan Bhavna. So I can't read it with the tone. Can I just,
Transliteration you can read.
I can read in Hindi, but not with the,
No problem.
like the tone of the.
Yes, yes.
सुर असुर भगादीप जेते जो मृग हरि काल दलेते मणि मंत्र तंत्र बहु होई मरते न बचावे कोई. Asharan Bhavna. In this transmigratory world, the kings of heavenly angels, demons, and the birds, etc., are victims of the death as the deer for the lion. The thought gem, Chintamani, the holy mantra, and mystical devices, tantra, etc., cannot prevent the onslaught of death. This is the nature of the helplessness contemplation. Here, one has to understand that one can only receive help from only his pure soul. No other substances of the world can help him. One substance cannot help any other substance of the universe. No one has the power to save someone else from any mundane dissociation. That is why one should not depend on help from any other substances of the universe. One's pure soul is eternal, existent, and therefore will not demise any time in the future. The enlightened soul concentrates on the contemplation and thereby increases his dispassionate state with this helplessness contemplation. Or Sharan.
Very good. So one thing, the last line, the enlightened soul concentrates on this contemplation, the idea that given in the contemplation, and thereby increases his dispassionate state. Now, I would like to mark this word, increase his dispassionate state. Okay. So this increase in dispassionate state is the essence of all 12 reflections. So the conclusion is same in every contemplations. You have to arrive at this conclusion. Increase his dispassionate state. What does it mean, Jia? Increase his dispassionate state. What is this dispassionate state? So from the negative side, it will be you are not manifesting attachment nor aversion. From the positive side, you are manifesting passionlessness state. There is no passions, neither attachment nor aversions. Okay. So if you are not manifesting attachment, if you are not manifesting aversion, that means you are manifesting equanimity, vitragta, happiness, right? So this is what we want. And this is what monks want, right? And that's why they are practicing 12 contemplations. Okay. So the example that I gave in Anitya Bhavna of Sikandar would be more applicable here. Okay. Asharan. Because that's what he wanted to depict, that I had so much of wealth in possession with me, and still I could not buy a moment of time for my life. Right. So this is applicable to this second contemplation. And the first one, the example was of Nilanjana. Nilanjana, who was dancing in the court of Raja Rishabdev, the first Tirthankar, and suddenly she died. And the king understood that. And there he got the Vairagya. He left the kingdom, he renounced everything and became a monk. And later on, he became the first Tirthankar, Adinath Bhagwan. So that is the Adinath Bhagwan story. That dancer, Nilanjana, he died. She died while dancing. And that is the example of Anitya Bhavna. Okay. So Sikandar we will use here and there Nilanjanas. So in this contemplation of helplessness, no one can provide protection. In this transmigratory world, the kings of heavenly angels. Now, who are the king of heavenly angels? So, the first is Sur. Sur means Indra. Okay. So, they are the king of heavenly angels. Then Asur, demons. They are the king of Bhavanvasi. Bhavanvasi celestial beings. Okay. And then the Khagadip. Khagadip is the king of the birds, Garud or Hans. Are the victims of the death as the are the victims of the death as the deer for the lion. So, as a lion, just tear apart the deer. Just he would have to see the deer and he will tear him apart and kill him. Similarly, in this transmigratory world, the kings of heavenly angels, demons, all these big personalities, famous personalities, are the victims of the death. So death is inevitable. The thought gem, Chintamani, the holy mantra. So even if you have Chintamani with you, where just thinking will bring things. You don't have to do anything. Just think and things will appear. This is called Chintamani Ratna, gems, okay? Thought gems. The holy mantra and mystical devices, tantra, all these cannot prevent the onslaught of death, okay? This is the nature of helplessness. So no one can provide you protection in this universe. And against this background, they have introduced as the soul as the only protector, right? Here one has to understand that one can only receive help from only his pure soul and no one else can protect you. No other substance of this world can help him. One substance cannot help any other substance of the universe. No one has the power to save someone else from any mundane dissociation. That is why one should not depend on help from any other substance of the universe. Why one should not depend on any help? Very good answer. Can I expect? So one obvious answer, yeah, Emily, you try.
So because no one can help you.
Yeah, that is very obvious answer, but I want to give a better answer. Every substance is complete in itself.
Ah.
So when you are complete in itself, why you need the help? Okay, so more powerful logic is that every substance is complete in itself. There is no one who is incomplete. If you are incomplete, then something will come and you will become complete. But you are complete from the beginning itself. Such a feeling, brings so much of relaxation and happiness that I am complete in myself. Just imagine, I am complete in myself. Even with this manifestation, you are complete? Yes, because manifestations are outside. They are temporary. They are momentary. They are one moment. And I am permanent, eternal. Okay? Complete in myself. So this completeness factor is very strong logic for practicing discriminative knowledge. Okay? So one should not depend on and help from any other substance of the universe. One's pure soul is eternal existence, and therefore will not demise or die anytime in the future. You are permanent. Our soul is permanent. The enlightened soul concentrates on this contemplation, okay, and thereby increase his dispassionate state with this helplessness contemplation. Okay, so this is You have to come to this conclusion: increase his dispassionate state. Increase his dispassionate state. Everywhere this will come. Okay. And this is the result of practice of discriminative knowledge. Okay. Why we are practicing? Because we want to increase our dispassionate state. In other words, we want to increase our happiness. Right? Third contemplations. Stanza number 5. Transmigratory contemplation. In Hindi, it's called Sansar Bhavna. Okay. And in English, the better statement would be meaningless of all attachments. Meaninglessness. Meaningless. Okay. Meaningless of all attachments. I think meaninglessness would be a better word, right? Meaninglessness of all attachments. Yes. Okay. So transmigratory, sansar. Now, usually we say sansar, that one from one species to another species, from one state of existence to another state of existence. This soul has been wandering, transmigrating since time immemorial. Okay. This is the usual definition of sansar. But here in 12 contemplations, it has given a different dimension to this concept, you know. They said that sansar is in the modification. This manifestations of attachments and aversion is sansar and not the outside of sansar, right? So again, you have challenge every moment. If you are manifesting attachment or aversion, this is sansar. And if you are not manifesting that, it is moksha. It is passionlessness, right? So you have challenge every moment. So let's see what Daulat Ramji has to say, and then again we will come back to the discussion. Okay, Madhuji, you read.
Yes. Stanza 5, contemplation. Transmigratory contemplation or sansar bhavana. Transmigration is the soul's impure mode. In this impure mode, the living being is ignorant in knowing the true nature of the soul. In this ignorant state, the living being constantly migrates in the four realms, realms of existence in misery for the 5 cycles of matter, space, time, incarnation, and phase. That is, Panch Parivartan of Dravya, Kshetra, Kal, Bhav, and Bhava and Bhav. Bhava and Bhava. In this state, he never has peace of mind and is unhappy. That is why transmigration is worthless. In mundane pleasures of the world, one imagines and perceives to be happy, but that perception is wrong because it is dependent on alien substances. Dependence on alien substances leads to perplexity. The dependence on one's pure nature of the soul produces serenity and is the real reason for happiness. So, rather than seeking for happiness in alien substances, one should concentrate on his pure nature of the soul. With this type of concentration of transmigratory contemplation, one increases his dispassionate state. This is the nature of transmigratory contemplation, that is sansar bhavana.
So this 5 kinds of panch paravartan, you know, 5 cycles of matter, space, time, incarnation, and phase. Okay. Dravya, Kshetra, Kal, Bhav, and Bhav. Okay. So this cycle we have been undergoing through since time immemorial. Okay. Because of ignorance, because of delusion, this is the story of ours, each and every soul. In this state, he never has peace of mind and is always unhappy. That is why transmigration is worthless. Okay. We are discussing Sansar Bhavana, okay? Transmigratory contemplation. Now, what you need to contemplate? In mundane pleasures of the world, one imagines and perceives to be happy, but that perception is wrong. Delusion. Because it is dependent on alien substances. Dependence on alien substances leads to perplexity, anxiety, perturbedness, right? The dependence on one's pure nature of the soul produces serenity, unperturbedness, and is the real reason for happiness. Okay, so this is permanent happiness, this is eternal bliss. Okay, so you have to be dependent, you have to take shelter of your own pure nature. So rather than seeking for happiness in alien substances, one should concentrate on his pure nature of the soul. With this type of concentration of transmigratory contemplation, can you see the words on screen, Himali? No. Okay. With this type of concentration of transmigratory contemplation, one increases his dispassionate state. One increases his dispassionate state. So same principle will come to conclusion in every contemplation. This is the nature of transmigratory contemplation, Sansar Bhavana. Okay. Any examples over here? 1 minute. Huh? Yeah. So there is an example of Tirthankar, Shantinath Bhagwan's previous life. 10 life previous to the life of Shantinath Tirthankar, he was a king, and they had 2 sons. Okay, and both fell in love with the maid's daughter. You know, so Shantinath Bhagwan and his wife, they both tried their best to make them understand that you are the son of a king, and you should not marry the daughter of a maid, you know. But they didn't understand. They said, no, we will only marry with this girl only. So both of them thought that this will bring such a disrepute to the kingdom. So they both committed suicide. And with that event, both the sons felt the transitoriness of this life and the what you called transmigratory contemplations they had about the sansar bhavana, meaningless of all attachments, and they initiated into monkhood. They became monk and they got liberated in the same birth. And their parents took another 10 births to get liberated. You know, so this is the sansar. Another example could be of Sita. You know, Sita was Ramchandraji's wife in this birth, and Ravan kidnapped her. But in future birth, Sita, while Ram was a monk, okay, Sita came in the disguise. So Sita became a heavenly being, and he came down to distract Ram from his meditation. And she went to help Ravan by giving him preachings. So this is also showing the what you call vichitrata, sansar ki vichitrata, you know. So all these contemplations are part of this transmigratory contemplations. Okay. So all the attachments are meaningless. This is what it depicts, and it also increases the dispassionate state. Now the next.
So,
yeah.
So while I was reading this, I'm confused now. So what is the difference then between the first contemplation, which is transitory, and transmigratory? They are both seeming very similar to me now.
Yeah. So all the 6, the first 6, you know, they will look similar because the objective is to detach you from the external circumstances. Okay. So one is discussing about the impermanence of the world. The second one is discussing about the
Helplessness.
sorry. Second was impermanence, and the first one was so first one was about the impermanence of the world. Then the second one was about the helplessness, right?
Yes.
Same thing. And the third one is about the transmigratory contemplation. That means meaningless of all the attachments. Okay. So the first one was giving weightage on the impermanence of the association. The second one was giving you weightage on the that no one can provide protections. And the third one is giving weightage on the meaninglessness of these attachments. So the perspective is different in each contemplation, It is contemplating on the external factors only. First 6 contemplation are about only external things only, okay? Because it is covering the soul and the non-soul elements, right? It is not covering the influx, the bondage, the stoppage, not. It is not covering it. That will come in the next 6 contemplations, okay?
Yes.
So first 6, the object of the signs of discrimination are same. Only the methodology changes. First one realizes you the impermanence. The second one realizes you that no one can give you protection. And the third one shows the meaninglessness of all these associations and attachments. Okay. Now, the fourth one, solitariness. Okay. Solitariness, and the next one, that is separateness. They are the same side of a coin, different sides of the same coin. Okay. They are two sides of the same coin. On one hand, we will show the solitariness, and on the other hand, we will show the separateness. So we can do both together, and it will be interesting if you understand both simultaneously, then you will realize the difference. So one is ekatva bhavna, then there is anyatva bhavna. So the soul cannot have oneness with any other objects or substance of the universe. That is what the fourth contemplation says. And in the next contemplation, it says that soul is always separate from all the substances. Okay. So only the angle of discussion changes, but the technology remains the same. So we will read both together. Soumya, you do it. Both together.
Contemplation 4. Okay, sir. Solitariness contemplation. शुभ अशुभ कर्म फल जेते भोगे जिए कहिते ते सुतदारा होई न सिरी सब स्वार्थ के हैं भीरी. The living being has solitariness from his perspective and has absolute differentiation from alien substances. That is why he is the reason for his own good or bad deeds. He cannot do anything to anybody. He himself keeps on doing auspicious and inauspicious dispositions, and as a result endures the fruition in the form of perplexity. Nobody is his partner in this endurance. The wife, children, or any other family members or friends do not share endurance from his deeds. Expectation that someone can help him is the reason for distress. The alien things of the world are only the objects of the soul's knowledge. They have no other relationship with the soul. Therefore, they cannot share the soul's endurance. The ignorant living being does not understand this principle, and he wrongfully believes that alien substances to be his own, and as a result end up suffering. In the state of transmigration as well as in the state of liberation, the soul is in solitariness. The enlightened soul believes these facts and keeps its solitariness with the pure nature of the soul and further purifies himself. This is the nature of solitariness contemplation, ekatva bhavna.
Hmm.
Next,
Next.
contemplation number 5, separateness contemplation. जल पर जो जिय तन मेरा पै भिन्न भिन्न नहीं भेला तो प्रगट जुदे धन धामा क्यों है एक मिली सुत रामा. The milk and water are mixed together, but in reality, they both have their own identity with specific attributes and as a result are separate. In the same way, the body and the soul appears to be one and the same, but they are both absolutely separate from their own differing attributes. Even though they occupy the same space units since time infinite, they both are separate from substance, area, modes, and attributes, that is, Dravya, Kshetra, Kal, and Bhav. In the same way, the visibly separate entities like the house, wealth, spouse, children, garden, car, etc., are also separate from the nature of the soul. The body is matter particles and the soul is the living substance. Since time infinity, they both occupy the same space point and therefore create the illusion that they both are one and the same. This is especially true from the empirical viewpoint. But from the absolute point of view, they both are separate with their own peculiar attributes. One should be aware of this fact and keep the relationship with body as the lotus is with water. One must keep the attitude of indifference to the relationship with alien substances and thereby increase one's own dispassionate state with the contemplation of separateness, anyatva bhavana.
Hmm. So you see, the nature of things says that each substance is solitary, is alone. Okay. So this is the fourth contemplation, ekatva bhavana, that each substance is unique. It is on its own. It cannot have any relation, any connection to any other substance by nature. By nature, each substance is independently one. Okay. So this is about the solitariness. And in the next contemplation, separateness. It says the same thing from a different perspective, that each substance is separate from all other substance. So one thing is being said from the positive side, same thing is being said from the negative side, right? So both are, we have discussed together. By nature, each and every substance is solitary in nature. It cannot mix with any other substance. And in the next contemplation, fifth contemplation, it says that soul is separate from all these association. Okay. So the example given is that water and milk are two separate things. If you burn the milk, the water will evaporate and you will have pure milk because they never mix up. Each substance remains independently all the time. It never mixes up with any other substance. Even in a matter substance, where there are infinite atoms in a substance, okay, in a particular mass, each atom is independent. It has no connection with another atom. You know, they have a tendency to mix up, but they never get mixed up. Each atom is independent. Okay. So the fourth contemplation shows the independence nature of each substances. Each substance as soul has come alone in this universe and it will go alone. Okay. There are no relations. There are no companions in this universe. All this we feel that this is my son, this is my family, is all because of delusion. There is nothing. Each one is a solitary substance in itself. And in the next, we can see that it is separate from all other substances. Okay. Even though they occupy the same space units, but they remain separate. Okay. So they are separate from Dravya, Kshetra, Kal, Bhav. Dravya is substance, Kshetra is space, Kal is time, and Bhav is attributes, okay, or quality. So in the same way, the visibly separate entities like the house, well, spouse, children, garden, etc., all separate from the nature of the soul. Okay. So in both the contemplations, you see there is increase in dispassionate state as a conclusion. Okay. And that is common everywhere. So this contemplation, either you are contemplating about the solitariness, or if you are contemplating about the separateness, in both you conclude that you increase your separateness with the help of practicing the discriminative knowledge. Yeah. Okay. Now the sixth, the last of the first set of 6 contemplations, impurity, asuchi bhavana. Asuchi bhavana says that it deals with the body, that your body is consists of impure substances, okay, and there is no way to feel attracted about it, okay. So again, this particular contemplation helps you to discriminate between the body and the soul. Who is left now? Rekha and then Payal.
Yes. Contemplation number 6.
Yes.
Impurity contemplation. Asuchi bhavna. पर रुधिर राधि मली थैली किकस वसादी में ते मेली नवद्वार बहे घिनकारी अस देह करे कि मियारी. This body is made up of flesh, blood, pus, and excretory products. It is dirty due to its bones and fatty materials. There are 9 openings through which waste comes out. How can one have an attachment with such a body? In this stanza, the author's intention is to describe the impure nature of the body and to show the purity of the self. With discriminative knowledge, he wants one to have liking for the pure nature of the self rather than dislike for body. The body is made up of matter particles and is impure by its own nature. Under the cover of the skin, the body is full of filth. On the other hand, the soul is made up of consciousness and is inherently pure. Therefore, the enlightened soul concentrates on the contemplation of impurity, ashuchi bhavana, and increases the purity in his modes.
So you see, what are these 9 openings through which waste comes out? So 2 ears, 2 eyes, 1 nose, 2 nose, okay. So 2 plus 2 plus 2, 6. And then we have mouth and then 2 excretion points, okay. So total is 9. So out of these 9, the waste comes out, okay. If you remove the skin of your body, you can know the reality of this body. You will not like to see it, you know. So how one can have an attachment to such a body, okay? Not your body also and not others' body also, okay? So this particular contemplation helps you to discriminate between the soul and the body. So by describing the impurities of the body and at the same time showing the purity of the soul. So with this discriminative knowledge, he wants one to have liking for the pure nature of the self rather than dislike for the body. Okay. The body is made up of matter particles and is impure by its own nature. Under the cover of the skin, the body is full of filth. Okay. On the other hand, the soul is made up of consciousness and is inherently pure. Therefore, the enlightened soul concentrates on the contemplation of impurity and increases the purity in his modes. Okay. So increases purity or increases dispassionate state is the same. Okay, so everywhere the conclusion is the same. Increases dispassionate, increases purity, increases is happiness. All these are same statements. Okay, so this is the conclusion. Now the next six will help you to discriminate between the influx, the bondage, the stoppage, the dissociation, and the liberation. 5 other elements. Okay. Mute. Okay. So now, Payal, stanza number 9, contemplation number 7.
जोगनी की छपाली ताते
Chaplai.
चपलाई ताते आश्रव हवाई भाई आश्रव दुखाकार घनेरा बुद्धत्व तीने निरावेरा निर्वेरा. The vibratory activity of the space points of the soul is known as yoga and is the reason for the soul's auspicious and inauspicious manifestation and is known as the subjective inflow. It occurs independently. As a result of subjective inflow, the material karma gets attracted to the soul, dravya ashra, by their own nature. This inflow is the reason for the suffering of the soul. The wise person stays away from these activities. Donation, compassion, devotion, worshipping, austerities, etc. Auspicious intentions are the impure nature of the soul and are known as the auspicious manifestations of the soul, bhav punya. At the same time, new karma known as auspicious material karma, dravya punya karma, get attracted to the soul. Violence, untruthfulness, stealing, etc. are the inauspicious manifestations of the soul. Bhau pap. And at the same time, these new karma get attracted to the soul and are known as the inauspicious material karma, dravya pap karma. As such, the auspicious and inauspicious manifestation is not the inherent nature of the soul. It is the transient, impure state of the soul. The material karma are the alien things. They cannot do anything favorable or unfavorable to the soul. The enlightened soul knows these facts very well, and as a result, he makes his personal efforts to keep away from the inflow status and increases his dispassionate state. This is the nature of the inflow contemplation, ashra bhavana.
So, just write down the names. Fourth one was the solitude of the soul. Fifth one was separateness of the soul. Sixth one was impurity of the body. The seventh one is reasons for influx of karma. Asrav bhavna. Reasons for influx of karma. Okay. So now, what are the reasons for influx of karma? So there are 5 broad reasons. Okay. First one is delusion, mithyatva. Second is avirati, non-restraintness. Then pramad, negligence, kashai, passions, and yog. Yog is activity of mind, speech, and body. Okay. So these are the 5 causes of influx. Okay. Here it is written, vibration due to the activities of mind, speech, and body. Okay. So this causes of influx we discussed just now, that it begins with delusion, then non-restraint and all. But actually...
Sir, hello? Sir, your voice is not audible, sir.
Acha? Not audible?
It's audible to me, sir.
It's audible to me also, sir.
Okay, now it's okay, Soumya? some problem at your end? Volume must have gone down. Okay, now fine. Okay. Okay. So vibrations due to the activities of mind, speech, and body. So any action like at the mind level, speech level, and the body level, there is a corresponding vibrations in the soul space. Okay. And because of that, there is an influx of karmas. Okay. जो जोगनी की चपलाई, चपलाई means चंचलता, vibrations, ताते आश्रव हुए भाई. Okay. Results, because of that, the influx of karmas are there. Asrav dukkar ganere. Okay. So these influxes are the cause of suffering. Buddhavant, enlightened one, wise persons. Tine nirvare. Those. Tine means those. Nirvare means they keep off. Okay. So here in these contemplations, which is the reasons for the influx of karma. Okay. Asrav bhavna, influx. So in this influx, they have covered 4 elements. Influx, bondage, auspicious, and inauspicious. Okay. All the 4 have been covered here: influx, bondage, auspicious sentiments, and inauspicious sentiments. All these forms comes under this contemplation. It is not only the contemplation about the influx, but it is also the contemplation about the bondage, about the auspicious and inauspicious. So here they have shown some activities as auspicious and some inauspicious activities. And because of these auspicious and inauspicious activities, the karmas, there is an influx of karma. Okay. So when you have auspicious activities, you have influx of auspicious material karma. And when you have activities like violence, untruthfulness, stealing, and all kinds of sins, you have an influx of inauspicious material karma. Okay. As such, the auspicious and inauspicious manifestation is not the inherent nature of the world, inherent nature of the soul. Okay. The soul's nature is to know, and all these are different from the soul. It is the transient, impure state of the soul. The material karma are the alien things, they are the instrumental cause. Okay. They cannot do anything favorable or any unfavorable to the soul. The enlightened soul knows these facts very well, and as a result, he makes his personal efforts to keep away from the inflow status and increases his dispassionate state. Okay. So by practicing the science of discrimination, every moment he can discriminate from the activities, from the auspicious and inauspicious sentiments, from the influx of the feeling of attachments and aversions, and the soul. Okay. So the soul is on one side. On the other side, there is attachment, aversions, passions, auspicious sentiments, inauspicious sentiments, all kinds of thoughts, everything under one bracket. Okay. And on one side is soul, and on the other side, all these things. So when you practice, when you distinguish between the two, okay, and that is called the science of discrimination, you are able to take shelter in your soul. Okay. And when you take shelter in your soul, your purity increases, the dispassionate state increases, and that is the contemplation of influx bhavna, influx contemplation, inflow contemplation. Okay. Now the next stoppage element. The next is the dissociation or shedding contemplation. Okay. So now we are dealing only in the elements. Okay. So number 8, contemplation, stoppage contemplation. Maltiji.
So I don't have the book with me today.
Okay. So you can see from the screen and read.
So we are reading stanza 10, right?
Yeah.
जिन पुण्य पाप नहीं कीना तम अनुदीचित दीना तिन्ही विधि आवत रोके सवर गही सुत अवलोके. Those who remain engrossed in the nature of the self and refrain from the auspicious and inauspicious manifestations of the soul are able to curb the inflow of karma. Such a person can accomplish the stoppage of karma and ultimately can obtain everlasting bliss. To stop the inflow of karma is known as stoppage. With right belief, right knowledge, and right conduct, one stops the inflow of the wrong knowledge and wrong conduct producing karma. Even though the enlightened soul knows their auspicious and inauspicious manifestations of the soul are the reason for the bondage, but still he has some amount of these manifestations. He still has some amount of these manifestations still remain due to his instability, asthirata, to stay within the pure nature of the soul. His purity improves proportionately to efforts he puts towards achieving the purity of the soul. The enlightened soul increases his purity by his self-introvertedness, swa-sanmukta. This is known as the stoppage contemplation, that is the samvar bhavana.
So stoppage of influx is the name we give to this particular contemplation, stoppage of influx. So in this contemplation, we think about the ways by which we can manifest the purity of the soul. So when we take shelter in our soul, automatically we develop this stoppage element. And because of this stoppage element, the influx stops. Okay. So the influx of the karma stops. Okay. So once we take shelter in this soul and experience the self-realization, okay, then the purity evolves for the first time. The path of liberation begins from here. And with more and more practice, you continue to take shelter in your soul time and again, and your purity keeps on increasing time and again. Okay. So this will be a gradual process. So on one hand, the purity will go on increasing, and on the other hand, the impurities will go on decreasing. But the beginning has been done here in the stoppage element. Okay. So stoppage element is the element where from the journey of the path of liberation begins. Okay. So stoppage means inflow of karma. With right belief, right knowledge, and right conduct, one stops the inflow of wrong belief, wrong knowledge, and wrong conduct producing karma. Even though the enlightened soul knows that auspicious and inauspicious manifestation of the soul are the reason for the bondage, right? He still has some amount of this manifestation still remain due to his instability. Instability in what? Instability to concentrate on the self. There is a weakness now, okay? And because of weakness, on the same thing could be said from the negative side, because of his inability to put in great efforts, okay? Because of this instability, to remain engrossed within the self, still some of the influx will happen, but that is because of instability. The major influx that was happening because of wrong belief, that has gone, and because of this stoppage element. Okay. His purity improves proportionately to efforts he puts towards achieving the purity of the soul. The enlightened soul increases his purity by his self-introvertness. This is known as the stoppage contemplation. Okay. So the journey has begun, and now this journey is going to increase in the coming elements, that is nirjara bhavana, shedding contemplation, dissociation contemplation. Okay.
So I have a question.
Yes. Yes.
So isn't this statement wrong? His purity improves proportionately to the efforts he puts in towards achieving the purity of the soul. But the soul is already pure, right?
Soul is already pure, but when you contemplate on that element, there is a corresponding purity that is being manifested in the modification. So
Okay.
pure is Pure soul is always pure by nature from the substance point of view. But we want to get it manifested in the modification, right?
Okay. Okay.
So we are all pure by nature.
So
Each
this is
soul
a
is
conventional statement.
pure. But again, in terms of modification, we have to see what's happening.
Right.
So the modification, there is impurity in the modification, and the modification wants to become pure. But from the perspective of the pure soul, it is not impure also in it, and it also does not want to get pure also. What is the voice of pure soul? I am not impure from the beginning itself. So why I should need to get pure?
Yeah.
So the whole efforts are for the whole efforts are in the modification. The whole efforts are for the modification. Okay. So the modification is impure and the modification wants to become pure. So it is being written like that. Okay. So the enlightened soul increases his purity in the next, the shedding contemplation. What is a good word for the shedding contemplation? Dissociation of karma. Okay. Dissociation of karma. So, Payal, you have not read.
She's right.
You have read?
Yeah, I read.
So, everyone has read. So, again, you repeat.
Me?
Yeah.
Okay. We're
11.
doing stanza. Sorry?
11. It's on your screen.
11. Yes. Shedding contemplation. Nirjara bhavana.
Mhm.
निजकल्प पे विधि चरना तासो निज काज न सरना जो तप करी कर्म की पावे सोई शिव सुख दर्शावे. The aim of life cannot be achieved by shedding karma upon their fruition. One who destroys karma by performing austerity is able to achieve bliss. The shedding of karma occurs at the time of fruition, when the time is ripe for those bonded karma that are staying with the soul in dormant conditions. This occurs all the time to every mundane soul, including ignorant souls. However, this is not the reason for purity in the ignorant souls. In fact, shedding of karma occurring in the enlightened soul with the right faith, knowledge, conduct, and with austerity is known as premature disintegration of karma. Avipaka nirjara or sakam nirjara. When there is progressive increase in the purity of soul, proportionate amount of karma disintegrate, ultimately leading to complete shedding of karma and the soul achieving ultimate liberation. The enlightened soul knows the fact, and with the self introvertedness, he increases his purity. This is known as shedding contemplation, Nirjara Bhavana.
So, the purity that you manifested in the stoppage element that keeps on increasing here with more practice of science of discrimination, and the dissociation of bondage automatically happens. Okay. And this is how you increase your purity. Okay. So this increasing in purity is what about the shedding contemplation. Okay. So this is all self-explanatory. So we'll move on to the next one, the 12th one, the stanza number 12. Again, we are repeating. So Rekha.
Yes. Contemplation number 10. Contemplation regarding the nature of the universe. Lok Bhavana. किन्हु न करो न धरे को षट द्रव्यमयी न हरे को सो लोक माही बिनु समता दुख सहे जीव नित भ्रमता. The universe was neither created nor maintained by anyone. It is made up of 6 universal substances and no entity can ever destroy it. Without equanimity, the living being suffers a great deal due to the transmigration in the universe. Brahma is not the creator, Vishnu is not the maintainer, and Mahesh is not the destroyer of the universe. The universe is composed of six substances. The universe and its six substances are in existence forever. All these six substances, with their own capacity, remain constant from the substantiality point of view, dravyarthik nay, and keep on changing constantly in form of origination and cessation from the modal point of view, paryayarthik point of view. One substance has no control over another substance. The true nature of one's soul, which is consciousness, is absolutely separate forever from the other souls. Can you please move up the screen?
Hemali? Yeah.
Sorry, I was reading my book.
The true nature of one's soul, which is consciousness, is absolutely separate forever from the other souls and the remaining five universal substances. The religious person has this strong belief and as a result does not believe in doing, enjoying, or owing alien substances. By believing in this manner, he keeps increasing his purity by reducing mundane expectations and delusions. This is known as the contemplation regarding the nature of the universe, Lok Bhava.
So in this universe, there are six substances, and each substance is independent. Each substance is complete in itself. Each substance is eternal. By knowing the independent nature of all the six substances, okay, we can conclude that the whole universe is moving, is running on automation mode. There is no doer. Brahma is not the creator, Vishnu is not the manager, and Mahesh is not the destroyer, okay, as the people in other faiths believe. So this universe is composed of six substances, and each substance is manifesting independently on its own. Each substance is complete on its own, and this is how the universe runs, okay? But the soul, because of delusion, believes that he is the doer of all these things. And here it says in this particular contemplation that the soul is different from all the other five substances, okay? Soul is the only sentient nature thing. Others don't have consciousness, okay? They are devoid of consciousness. So they cannot know, they cannot manifest anything. Although they are manifesting on its own, but they cannot manifest the knowledge attribute, which is only in the soul. Okay. So from the all these six substances with their own capacity remain constant from the substantiality point of view, dravyarthik nay, and keep on changing constantly in the form of origination, that is evolution, and cessation, that is extinction. Okay. From the model point of view, modification point of view, paryarthik point of view. One substance has no control over any other substance. Okay. So here one thing that I want to add is that our soul is itself the universe for us. Okay. It's a permanent universe for us. Our own soul is a permanent universe for all of us. It is my nature. Okay. So this kind of thoughts the enlightened soul have, and with this thought, he increases his inclination towards his soul, and because of that, he increases his purity. And that increase of purity is the actual contemplation of this universe, contemplation of the universe. Okay. Contemplation regarding the nature of the universe. So this name is quite correct, contemplation regarding the nature of the universe. So this is the 10th contemplation. Now moving on the 11th contemplation, that is Bodhi Durlabh Bhavana. Contemplation regarding the rarity, contemplation regarding the rarity of religious knowledge. Okay. Another good name would be rarity of attainment of true path of liberation, rarity of attainment of true path of liberation. So, Madhuji, repeat.
Should I read the stanza 13, isn't it?
Yes, yes.
Yes. Stanza 13, contemplation. Contemplation level. Contemplation regarding the rarity of religious knowledge. That is Bodhi Durlabh Bhavana. I'll just read it, sir. Antim Grivak Lo Ki Had Payo Anant Virya Pad Pe Samyak Gyan Na Ladho Durlabh Nijme Muni Sadho. The living being with wrong faith has been able to obtain the high position of the nine neck dwelling abode of the angels many times in the past. Due to his milder passions. However, he has never obtained the right knowledge. The right knowledge is unprecedented and can only be obtained by self-introvertedness, that is, swa-sanmukta, and with infinite self-efforts. Right knowledge and right faith cannot be obtained by auspicious manifestations or by auspicious karma. The mundane living being has obtained favorable surroundings, all four realms of existence and association of alien substances, infinite times in the past, but has never realized the true nature of the self at any times in the past. Therefore, it is imperative that he obtains his extraordinary nature of self realization. The value of understanding the true nature of the self cannot be compared with any substance of the universe. Enlightenment, that is Bodhi, means the unity of absolute right faith, knowledge, and conduct. The wise person must pull all his efforts in obtaining this enlightenment. The person with right faith concentrates on this contemplation, and as a result, he increases his enlightenment. This is the nature of the contemplation regarding the rarity of religious knowledge, Bodhi Durlabh Bhavana.
So again, what is Bodhi? Bodhi means enlightenment. Okay. Bodhi means right belief, unity of right belief, right knowledge, and right conduct. Okay. This is called Bodhi. And the second word was Durlabh. Durlabh means rarity. So we have got everything infinite times in our this journey of transmigration, but never we maintain, whenever we attain this Bodhi. Okay. Bodhi means right belief, right knowledge, and right conduct. Okay. So, Bodhi Durlabh in this particular contemplation, the contemplation is the rarity of getting this right belief, right knowledge, and right conduct. Okay. So, the wise person must put all his efforts in obtaining this enlightenment. Everything we have obtained infinite times. Okay. But this is something we have never obtained, and because of that, we are still in this transmigratory position. Okay. So now to get out of this cycle and to get liberated, we have to manifest this bodhi, the enlightenment, the unity of the right belief, right knowledge, and right contemplation. The person with right faith concentrates on this contemplation. As a result, he increases his enlightenment. Okay. So here increases his enlightenment means he increases his purity. Okay. He increases his frequency of signs of discrimination. Okay. This is the nature of the contemplation regarding the rarity of religious knowledge. Okay. So this religious knowledge is very rare to find, very rare to listen, very rare to read, very rare to adapt in our life. Okay. So here in this particular contemplation, it is discussed the rarity of the attainment of this unity of right belief, right knowledge, and right conduct. Okay. But not in this particular contemplation here, but when we discuss the 12 contemplation in detail, there is another factor that has been also discussed. Since the nature of the soul itself is to manifest right belief, right knowledge, and right conduct, so it cannot be difficult to obtain this right belief, to obtain these three gems. Okay. So on one hand, it has been discussed the rarity of attaining this thing. On the other hand, they have discussed, since it is the nature of the soul, it cannot be difficult to obtain this bodhi. So both has been discussed, the rarity of the attainment and the simplicity of the attainment also is discussed in that particular book that we are going to study next. Okay. So here only the rarity of the attainment of this right belief, right knowledge, and right conduct is discussed. The next is the last of the 12th one, contemplation on the nature of the religious path, dharma bhavana. Okay. So you will find the contemplation number 11 and 12 more or less similar, but there is again a twist in the thinking pattern of both the contemplation. Okay. I would like to understand that difference. Okay. I'll ask after the discussion of this, then you have to answer this. Okay. So in the contemplation number 11, we have discussed the rarity of the attainment of the unity of the right belief, right knowledge, and right conduct. And now here we are going to discuss what is the nature of this religious path, dharma bhavana. I'm reading myself because time is very less. We are almost through to the time, but we will complete this in the next 10 minutes. Okay. जे भाव मोहते न्यारे द्रग ज्ञान व्रतादिक सारे ते धर्म जबे जिय धारे तब ही सुख अचल निहारे. The religion consists of right faith, right knowledge, right conduct, vows, austerity, etc. These are the spiritual manifestation without delusions. With this religion, the living being is able to perceive permanent bliss. The unity of absolute right faith, knowledge, and conduct is the real nature of the religion. The conventional right faith, knowledge, and conduct are in fact not true religion. Okay? When the soul with his personal efforts obtains the absolute nature of the triple gem of right faith, knowledge, and conduct, he is able to perceive the everlasting bliss of liberation. The enlightened soul concentrates on this contemplation and increases his self-introvertness. This is the nature of the contemplation of nature of the religious path, dharma bhavana. Okay. So the difference was in the 11th contemplation, we discussed the rarity of the attainment of right belief, right knowledge, and right conduct. But here in the 12th contemplation, dharma bhavana, we are discussing what is the true religion. Okay. So the true religion is the manifestation of right belief, right faith, right knowledge, and right conduct. That is vitrakta. Passionlessness state is the only true religion. Okay. So there is a difference in the discussion of both the contemplation. Here, what is the nature of the true religion is being discussed and its glorification. Okay. So that is the only difference. In both the contemplation, we have discussed right faith, right belief, right knowledge, and right conduct. But the angle of discussion is different. Here we are discussing the nature of the right faith, right belief and right knowledge, right conduct, and its glorification. Okay. So the soul with his personal efforts can manifest the true religion by manifesting right faith, right knowledge, and right conduct. Now the conclusion, the last stanza. Nature of the ascetic with right faith, knowledge, and conduct. So this 12 contemplation we discussed from the perspective of a monk only, and here we are discussing the conclusion of this dhal, and it's an introduction of the next dhal, the sixth dhal. What is going to come in the sixth dhal, that is being discussed here. So dharma muni na kar धरिए तिनकी करतूति उचरिए ताको सुनी के भव प्राणी अपनी अनुभूति पिछानी. So therefore dharma means religion, munina by ascetics, kar dharye. So this true religion is followed by the monks. Okay. Tinki kartuti uchiriye. Kartuti means what is the course of their conduct. Okay. So now I will be discussing what is the conduct of a monk. Okay. What is the life that a monk lives? Why? Because we also want to become monk and we also want to get liberated. So to get liberated, you have to become a monk. So you should understand what is the life of a monk. So you will be attracted to develop that kind of feelings. So I'm going to narrate the life of a monk. Tako suni ke bhav prani. Tako means of that. Suni ke listen. Bhavi prani. Living being capable of liberation. Bhavya prani. Those who are capable of getting liberated. Okay. Apni anubhuti. Your anubhuti pehchani recognizes one's nature of soul. So the unity of absolute right faith, knowledge, and conduct is seen the true ascetic. Okay. Is seen in the true ascetic. It will be described in the next section of the scripture. The author requests the living being capable of liberation to carefully listen to the stories of conduct of such ascetics and then put into action in one's life in order to experience the nature of true self. So what is my question? What is the life of a true ascetics? In one sentence. What is the life of a true ascetics? What is the story of the conduct of a true ascetic?
To concentrate fully on the soul itself.
To concentrate fully on the soul itself and manifest the passionlessness, right? That is the life of a true soul and not the external activities that it performs. Although a soul always performs those external activities that he is supposed to do, but the main part is the manifestation of the purity that a soul has undergone by practicing the science of discrimination and the purity level that he has manifested. That is the true monkness. Okay. So we can also understand that from the first dhal to the sixth dhal, the whole journey of the soul from the mundane existence to getting liberated is being explained in Chai Dhala. And the last part is coming up in the next week. That will be our last class on sixth dhal. And it can be of slightly more time. Maybe I can take 10-15 minutes more in that class, but we will complete in one shot. Okay. So that will be the sixth dhal coming up next week. If you have any questions on this particular fifth dhal, you can ask me anytime personally. You can message me also. I will be ready to answer any queries. Now also, if you want to ask, let's finish the Mangalacharan stuti first, and then if you want to ask any questions, I am ready to take it now also. निज निधि निज में बताई, यह अनंत उपकार है, उसके लिए जिन वाणी माँ को वंदना सत बार है, उसके लिए जिन वाणी माँ को वंदना सत बार है।